Ramos, and I have been in the real estate world for, well, my entire life. My family and I have done it all and seen more from real estate sales, construction, and property inspections. And in all this time, what fascinates me the most about this industry are the people and how they changed their dreams into realty success.
This program is brought to you by City Home Inspectors, your one-stop shop for all your home inspection needs.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of From Dreams to Realty Success. This week we have Nick Libert. Nick has been a phenomenal realtor in the Chicagoland area forever. I mean, since before I even got into the industry, I was hearing about him and seeing him everywhere. I was actually at a seminar about 2 weeks ago, and I saw the who to know in real estate, and you're right there smack in the middle of the photo with two other realtors. So this guy's been all over the place, but I'll let Baxi get ahead and I'll get into his bio.
A little bit about Nick Libert. Nick Libert has dedicated his entire adult career to empowering lives through real estate. His passion for finding his clients the ideal home or investment property has manifested itself into rave reviews from many of his hundreds of past clients. His depth of over 2 decades of industry experience had made him a sought-after sales coach, speaking in front of thousands of real estate agents and appearing on nearly every major TV network, including multiple stints on HGTV, Staple House Hunters, and CNBC The Deed. Nick owns and operates Exit Realty's #1 most productive office in the Midwest, and is your #1 source for trusted real estate information everywhere. I'm so impressed with you, Nick. I had to ask you to come because I follow you. You motivate me. You have a skill that many managing brokers don't have. And I am one of them. You know, I always struggled with being a managing broker and a top producing agent, right? So, and you kind of have both. And I always said, if I do that again, if I go back to being a managing broker, I'm going to choose one or the other. And if I be a managing broker, I'm not going to produce. And if I'm a producer, I'm not going to manage. But you found the way to do them both. And you're so consistent and good at both. You're so systematic. So we're so happy to have you here because I'm sure a lot of people will want to hear how you do it, you know, and what motivates you most importantly. So thank you for being here today.
Oh my gosh, Baxi, Michael, thank you for having me. And Baxi, I've followed you for many years, and we have worked together in the inspection space. You're such a leader, and you inspire a lot of people as a so successful female entrepreneur, so approachable and so knowledgeable. That is why I've used you for so many inspections over the years, and your team, and just the way that you work. So you inspire me, and I'm excited to be here on your podcast. So this is an honor to be here, and looking forward to sharing all the stuff I've done wrong in order to get a couple things right.
Thank you.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Again, thanks so much, Nick. Yeah, this was a long time coming. We did have a little confession at the beginning before we recorded. I kind of wanted to get out there. We wanted to have you in last season, but I was like, man, I want to make sure I fine tune this a little better because I know I did one of your seminars and I completely bombed at the end when they were like, okay, can you give them your phone number? And I was like, and I couldn't, and I just couldn't do it. But yeah, I was like, okay, I want to make sure we're able to cross out all the little errors stuff that we had at the beginning. So again, yeah, thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. So the first question we have down for you is, how did you get started in real estate and why did you choose real estate?
Wow, this is a good story. And by the way, your guys' podcast is amazing. This series is, I was looking at it today to kind of get prepared for it. And it was funny that you did confess that at the beginning because I was like, oh, this is so great. Why didn't I get asked to be on this before? Like my little ego hurt. So and the editing and the way that you brought out, made people shine. I love it. So it's, again, an honor to be here. How did I get here into real estate? Well, that bio is actually a little old and crusty now. It's 25 years in the business as of April 1st. So it's been a long time. I actually started in the business. I got my license because I bought an investment property while I was in college. I had a lawn service in high school, and I sold that lawn service and ended up using that money as a down payment on my first condo. My mom and my grandpa had always told me to invest in real estate. And I've just always been really aggressive at an early age on certain things. And so I wanted to, just get that process started. So I bought an investment property and I had a really nice agent. And she said, you should get your license. And I'm sitting there thinking, actually I should. No offense, lady. I think I'm going to cut you out of the deal. And and I did it to get knowledge about the business and also to save myself the commissions as an investor. Never in my wildest imagination did I think that 25 years later this would be my life's passion. I thought that I was going to be a TV reporter, so that's where the hair comes from. That's all. So I went to school for broadcast journalism in undergrad. I fell in love with real estate during that time, and I started out with Coldwell Banker in 1998, where that wonderful agent worked. And then in 2001, I left Coldwell Banker, started my own company, thought I knew everything, which I did not at all. But in that time period, I also went to law school thinking I wanted to be a lawyer or a really high level broadcast journalist that was going to be like doing documentaries or something. Well, don't look on Netflix because there's none there. Ended up just really at the end of law school looking at everything going, I didn't do really well in law school because the entire time I was running around doing my brokerage work. I already was coaching agents even back then in the early 2000s. Can't believe we're saying early 2000s as if it was
Right.
but it is. And I just was pretty honest with myself. I'm like, I don't think that you are meant to sit there and argue and nitpick things apart. You seem to love to bring things together. And I don't think this is the right career for you. And I'm like, I wish I'd thought that through before, 3 years of law school and, $100,000 of student loan debt. But I just knew that this was my passion. And I loved watching. Even at that point, I had a couple people that had already bought their second place through me. And I realized that this is going to be a lifelong thing where people are going to come back to me and my team to empower their lives and go through life transitions with me as their realtor. And I loved that. And I was good at it and I was making good money. And I thought, I'm just going to dive really deep into this and become a student of the business. And that is what I've done for the last 25 years. So it's been a journey with a lot of ups and downs, but it's an amazing industry to be in. I think all three of us agree about that, but there's so much more we can do in the industry. And that's really my passion, is trying to not only help the consumer, but also help the real estate industry. There's well over 1 million realtors across the US. Many of them are not even making a living wage, or they're making a great wage and they're miserable because of the way that they haven't been coached, they haven't been trained or given the right tools. And so that's really over time where I've shifted my focus. Is I feel like I've got a great team running the sales side of things. I'm more in the coaching and mentoring mode at this point. And I think that's where we're going to really, the next, decade or two in my life is going to be focused on how to help the industry and how to really put better pieces together, not just the real estate side, but the rest of the experience for the consumer: title, insurance, mortgage. We've already done some of those pieces, but a lot of education, a lot of trying to build synergy within the technology pieces. I'm kind of taking that step back and taking that 360-degree bird's eye view at this point, and that's exciting for me. It's always been a new thing every 6 months. It feels like in this industry, a new technology, a new new issue, a new economic piece, but it keeps it fresh. And for me, trying to stay on top of that and then sharing that with everybody around me is what I love to do.
Sure, and you're always are improving, right? Always are self-improving, yeah, in your career and everything you do, every service you offer, you're always looking into how to better improve. And I see that in you, and it shows. And isn't it wonderful that even after 25 years, and you would think that we would think that we are the best, and we would, we're done. We know what we're doing. We know how to do it. No, not in real estate. The fascinating thing about real estate is that we are always learning something new. And you've been here for 25 years, and look at you. You're just continuing to improve what you're doing and where you're going. So that's really, really great to see. And it's really nice. And I'm sure a lot of your realtors see that, and that's why they're sticking with you. That's why you don't have a huge revolving door. It seems like everyone sticks with Nick. Everybody loves Nick.
You talk to Nick, you stay with Nick. And that,
Yeah.
things can change for
Mhm.
people. And it's funny, we've had people leave and come back. Sometimes they've left twice and came back. And it's an open door. Should never be a revolving door, but it's a relationship business.
Mhm.
And you're always, I think, if you're always trying to better yourself, and you're in an environment that's a mastermind. I use the word betterment. I had to look it up to make sure that it actually was a word before I
Mhm.
started using it, because betterment versus self improvement. Betterment is bettering not only you but the people around you. I
Yeah.
may overuse this phrase, but rising tides lift all boats. I really
Mhm.
believe that. I'm like, if you're doing good and I'm doing good, we're doing good together,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we're going to trip and fall. That's the reality of this industry, this life that we're given. We're
Mhm.
going to trip and fall. We're going to try to evolve and do it wrong. Baxter, when I first met you, I was still flipping houses, thought I knew everything about that, and you will never know everything about anything, and you
Mhm.
will always something will change around you. Life is full of change always, and I'm starting to realize just how that doesn't mean that things are going to go away forever, but there's always an ebb and flow. And
Yeah.
I'm going to use way too many water-based terms today. It must be too cold out, and I'm thinking of warmer. Way too
You
many
need
water.
Florida.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you appear to you're skilled. After 25 years, you're skilled in many of the areas in the whole transaction, selling, flipping, representing buyers, representing sellers. What would you say is your main niche, or if you have several, that's fine too. What would they be?
So I think my main, honestly, my main niche would be education, because I think, to me, anybody that's doing a good job of building relationships, if you say, "Oh, well, I'm really good with first time buyers," well, bird's eye view on that, they're not going to be a first time buyer the next time through, and also, it doesn't mean an investor is always going to want to buy stuff. They're going to want to sell stuff. Your buyers are going to want to eventually sell that place. So you really do have to be well rounded, but being a student of the business and then educating other people, that would be really my niche of anything. If you pull out my transactions on a map, yeah, there's a couple neighborhoods in Chicago I do a lot of business in because that's where my core sphere is. But even they are moving within the city. They're going to the suburbs. They're coming back from the suburbs. They're going out of state. They're coming back to the state. And so it's exciting to see, again, like a take a step back, and over time you'll realize people are going to ebb and flow in their needs from you, but that doesn't mean the relationship ends. I was actually, right while we were getting ready for this, I was texting with a friend of mine. I've used him as an example for a long time because he came to me as a rental referral, and I people laugh. I go out on rental shows and people are like, "Is the market that bad? You're here, you're doing a release." And I'm like, "No, actually, this is a relationship." And I don't do a lot of them, but um, this person came to me as a rental referral, and a friend of mine he goes, "I don't think you do rentals, do you?" I said, "For the right person, if is it a friend of a friend?" And he goes, "Well, I think you're really going to like this guy. And he's coming here from New York, and he's fresh out of a divorce." And I said, "Yeah, I'll take him out. It doesn't take too long to do a rental." And I had that conversation in the car. I'm like, "Now you can go on Craigslist, you can go out. You're not going to do that, right? We're going to work together. It's going to be a conversation." And halfway through the car ride, I'm like, "This guy is like, something is amazing about this person." And he ended up saying, "You know what? I don't think I want to rent here. I actually think I want to buy here." And as a matter of fact, as things were kind of sorting through the end of his divorce, and things just were what they were, he goes, "I actually don't think I want to even. I think I want to move my whole life here." And he ended up going from a $1,500 a month crash pad rental in the same couple car rides. He ended up being a nearly $2 million single family home sale. And
Wow.
that person, since then, we've rented that house because he's moved away. He's moved away twice, done other things in his life.
Mhm.
And that has been that one little transaction in that car ended up being one of my amazing friends, and B, a source of a lot of business, because when we put that property on the market, a Cubs player rented it with an option to buy. Well, they didn't buy it, but I got, that ended up having me in a conversation with another Cubs player for something else. And all of a sudden, the next thing you never know if you close a door, to one relationship because it's not enough money for you. Um, that's the end of the door closes
Sure.
for everything else that relationship could be. And you don't know who those people know and what they're going to be to you in the rest of your life. So
Wow.
sometimes I think the door is so wide open that it's overwhelming for me, but I'm learning how to delegate and use better technology and the people around me as resources to help with that. But my niche is not a neighborhood or a property type. It is education on the journey, because people are always going to need a roof over their head, and I would used to say, and a place to work, but now we seem to all be working from our houses. So,
Yeah.
that's you're going to need a place to live and to do what you do, and that's never going to change.
Yeah, very true. Wow. That's great. What a great story from rental to multi-million dollar sale. That's awesome. Amazing. So, we did when we were going through the bio, I did hear there's a line in there that says hundreds of clients. Do you have a number in your head now of how many clients you and your team have serviced?
In my head,
Like,
it's
is
funny.
there a ballpark?
He
I
knows it.
now
He knows it.
it's
See?
648 total transactions. And I'm licensed in Indiana and Michigan. I'm originally
Okay.
from Indiana. I got my license in Indiana first. I knew pretty quickly, kind of seeing the world as a young adult, and quite frankly, as a gay man, or soon to be coming out at that point, gay man. I'm like, I don't think this small town environment is working for me, and I wanted to come to the big city, but I kept the Indiana license because there's some amazing investments over there. There's some great, homes and lifestyles over there. It just wasn't what I wanted, and the Michigan license. So all my business at this point is focused in Illinois, in Chicagoland, because I think going too wide versus deep is sometimes a danger. And I just did not feel like moving on in the long term, it was sustainable to be driving everywhere, maintaining 3 MLS memberships and that kind of stuff. So I built a team around me to do that. But yeah, 648 total transactions at this point. And my goal is to get it to 1,000 without affecting my coaching side of my business. Um, and also, just kind of a point of clarity, we actually, that bio is stale. You taught me a lesson today. I need to refresh that bio, maybe the headshot. Last year, I'm kidding, but I did something a couple of years ago. Actually, it's been more than a couple of years now. That I decided that I wanted to coach our agents, and at one point, Baxty, to kind of go to your point about, are you the managing broker? Are you great agent? I, way back in the day, decided I just wanted to be the managing broker, and I was miserable, because here's what happened. The first 6 months of that were great. I was so laser focused, and it was like every once in a while contractor form changes. It's CAR, it's the Main Street Organization of Realtors, or NASBAR, whatever the association. Somebody changed something, and one of my agents goes, well, and I'm literally pulled the file out and I'm starting to print it out and showing them what to do, and they're like, well, that's not the form. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, they changed the form, and they looked at me, and I'm like, I should know that, shouldn't I? And it just was the first hint of, uh-oh. I feel like by not, you're never going to know everything, but by being completely removed from a transactional process, you also miss certain things. So I decided that after 3 years of doing it that way and being really miserable, because I saw that my agents also were stopping coming to me as much, because my advice wasn't as good. It was like Nick's reading out of a playbook from 2 years ago. The consumer has a new tool every 6 months, a new financing issue or contingency or a new form, or something happens every couple months to change the game in the business. I liked to be in the mix because I, number one, enjoyed the experience with consumers, but number two, I wanted to understand what the consumer was going through, what the realtor was going through. And so I decided to go back into the sales side, and I, for a while, did do the managing broker and the realtor slash coach role. I found that to be too much. I ended up hiring an amazing managing broker, and then actually she ended up doing that for several years. And then Eve Benton stepped into the role, I think 4 or 5 years now. She's just an epic person, because she's a very detail oriented, very patient person with the newer agents, and she does not mind doing something on that level, so I can sit there and geek out in a new CRM product, or
Mm-hmm.
Zenlist is a great tool for agents. I wanted to buy it for a whole office. We were the second brokerage in Chicago to do it, because I realized the private listing network was actually hindering the consumer from getting the rest of the listings from our agents if they were just setting up a regular MLS search. I wouldn't have known that if I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in the game. But Baxter, to go to your point, one hat had to come off. So the managing broker hat came off, And I
Mhm.
always tell my agents, I'm like, I'm more than happy to. I'm still a managing broker
Okay.
licensed, but I'm not your designated managing broker. You got a contract or you got a problem question, you go to your manager.
Mhm.
You want an opportunity, you go to your coach. And so we really separated that out where,
Mhm.
you know, Eve is an amazing coach, Eve Benton, our managing broker. But I would love to sit there and know that she can be on the ready for an issue with a client or a trouble point, and
Yeah.
I can sit there and go, "What? How can I make my agents' phones ring more?
Right.
How can I make their lives better besides just making the phone ring? What can we do to leverage technology around us so that the agent can actually have a life?"
Mhm.
My best year in sales was 2021, and I'm not a team. I call them a team that works around me in terms of staff. I have one licensed agent that assists me with my transactions, and
Mhm.
they're amazing. But I did 24 million, I think, and I'm a lot of money for one person with one little team member. No Zillow spend, no billboards or bus benches. I've done all that stuff. Nothing wrong with it, but it was not bringing me my return on investment. But I'll tell you, I looked at my you know, money from that, money from my residual bonuses at exit. I'm going, that's more than I ever thought I'd make. That's more than what was on my vision board. And I actually, in my personal life, had the most miserable year ever. And
Mhm.
you've got to have a work life balance. And that year
Mhm.
taught me so much because I'm like, it is not all about the money. Somebody that comes from a scarcity mindset is never going to appreciate how that feels to actually beat the vision board and actually be like, well, this sucks. This is not fun because the vision board, if it's all money and it's all material things, it doesn't matter. It will not make you happy 100% unless you've got the little missing empathy chip or something in you. And
Mhm.
so I'm always learning lessons like that. It's like sometimes even when you succeed, you fail in something.
Oh
And I feel
yeah.
like I'm always failing forward, but as long as I'm not failing backwards, if I'm failing forward, then I can show you what I did. Like, don't trip. There's a crack in that step. I feel like I can go to bed and sleep well at night. I'm trying to help everybody not trip over that step that I did.
So you created systems. So you're very systematic, very organized, and so you're able to be that because you are the managing broker, but you lead another managing broker. So you manage the managing broker managing you delegate it, and that's probably something that's very very difficult for many entrepreneurs, whether it's real estate or not. But many entrepreneurs with small businesses, they have a hard time delegating. And that's the secret to how you can handle it all. But I watch you. You motivate me. You motivate me every morning because I watch you on that Peloton, or you're riding bike, or you're outside running. I watch you. And then in the evening, I love the way every night you have your shows. I call them novelas. My mother watched novelas. And every night, yeah,
Nice
you're
story.
yeah, and I watch them and I'm like, oh my God, I love how organized, and you make it look flawless. But I know it's not that. Took time to get there. It took a lot of work, and there's no such thing of failing to me. I always said you need to fail, you need to fall to learn. That's the only way you can get stronger, and then you can get wiser. But you do motivate me every morning, and I love the fact that your team is doing yoga with you, your team is working out with you. And I said, oh my God, I love this broker. If I was to go back to being a realtor, I would go to I would definitely go to your office. Definitely. I would go to your office. But yeah, so what's behind all this motivation, and what's behind all this motivation and success? I mean, you have a lot of energy. You must be athletic. I mean, that's probably something about you from forever, that you carry that with you, the self-care aspect of it. But what motivates you to be so on top of things?
Oh man, I'm like, am I on a couch? The therapist couch? I do have one after the pandemic, but I'll tell you, I, I guess first of all, I don't know everything. Definitely, none of us do, but I know what has not worked for me. And growing up, my mom was the breadwinner a lot of times, and then eventually my mom and dad got divorced, and I realized very young that a bad work ethic from my father caused chaos. And you know, a good work ethic doesn't prevent chaos. And more money, more problems. But at the same time, I think what I grew up with was a dichotomy of like one person, you really just carrying all the water, carrying all the weight. And that stuck with me that I'm like, I'd rather be that person and never be the person that's not pulling their weight. And so for me, that's kind of always stuck with me. And then also, if you've ever taken the DISC test, the DISC test, you'll know different personality types. And I'm a high I personality, but also a very high D personality right behind it, but super high I. I like applause. So guess what? When you do well, somebody claps for you. And it just works. And eventually you kind of get to know yourself and you're like, okay, I know that if XYZ happens, I'll be happy. People around me will be happy. Well, let's do things that make us happy. Now, eventually I figured out things like, alcohol that made me sometimes happy, sometimes not. I had to take a step back on stuff and moderate my behaviors. But I think the idea that I always wanted to better myself and the people around me just kind of came around as the result of my upbringing. That was my mom, always trying to make things better. And that's, and she still is at her, at 79 years old, still trying to make things better around her. And I just feel like that's kind of the way that's how I was built. And
It's a lifestyle.
yeah, it's a lifestyle. But what I'll say with that is, I came out of college with some really bad habits, alcohol related. And I'll still have a drink. Trust me. People are like, "Well, I thought you stopped drinking," and I see you with a drink. I'm like, "No, I stopped drinking a lot."
Yeah.
There's a point that I took a break. But I was sleeping super late. I was in real estate. You're the CEO of your business. There's no one telling you when to go in and not in. And coupling that with being in a corporate environment. I mean, I mowed lawns. That was weather dependent, and then I went straight into real estate. I never really had a real 9 to 5 job, so my sleeping habits, my everything else habits were terrible. The discipline you see now is trial and error. I always wanted to feel good about myself. I've got some body dysmorphia. I think some people that are going to watch this later will relate to that. But my fitness levels, everything like that, changed dramatically when I started to change my attitude about my time. And everything relates back to time more than anything else. If you don't have money, you can create money by putting time towards it. If you're not happy, you can create happiness by putting time towards it. Time is the master of everything, and you're the master of your time. So I read a book called The Miracle Morning, and it was a absolute game changer. And it was not one of those like I discovered it. Someone told me about it. It was like one of those nudges that the universe gives you. And I think it was someone that was like, you can do better, and that eventually surrounding myself with people that you're never supposed to be the smartest or the most interesting person in the room. We've got some friends that sometimes, they're kind of jerks. If you follow me on Instagram, you could probably name a couple of they just want everything around them to be better. They want everybody to thrive and win. And sometimes that's difficult conversations. And so I read that book on someone's, recommendation, and The Miracle Morning changed my world. If you get up early and get the things done that you want to achieve the most, that will make the most difference in your world. Well, what is that? For a realtor, it's going to be the lead generation calls, it's going to be that. But then the overall mindset has to be there first. And that comes from whether it's meditation, yoga, running, whatever. I like the Peloton. I was a Barry's Boot Camp addict, still went this morning to Barry's Boot Camp, first time in a while. But I just love that energy I get out of a clear head from working out. It's a natural high. And then you go right into a dollar productive activity. And then by 10 or 11 a.m., let the world start to come in with the fires of the day that need to be put out. Then you can put your firefighter hat on. If you don't get the rest of that stuff done, I find it very chaotic and anxiety ridden to not have that stuff done and go right into the firefighting. And if you wake up at 9, 10 a.m. or even 8 a.m. and then hang out for a little bit, life will always get in the way. There will always be a fire to put out, whether it's a client, a family member, a friend, a stranger, life, something will try to get in the way and mess with you. If you got those stuff done, let everything else go to what. You say, okay, I got my day done. And then that's by the end of the day, because of that early start, I am burned out and I need my novellas. I need my stories. It's my nighttime. And that has really settled me down in my later years. I was pretty wild in my 20s into my early 30s. I mean, Max, do you miss that era? I don't think you'd be as delighted to see me sometime. But it's a journey to get there, and now I really appreciate what I have and what I want to do because I've hit some really low lows that that could be a whole other podcast of
Mhm.
my darkest hours. There were a lot of them.
Yeah,
Sometimes I
I
my
could attest that too because in this industry too there is, like you said, there's a lot of alcohol, there's a lot of drinking, a lot of partying,
Mhm.
and yeah, like for me too, it got to a point where it's like it was just so much, and then it's so often where I needed to be like, hey, I need a break, I need to not drink, I need to to do other things with my time and energies, and yeah, and doing that, and then you like, it's funny, changing one thing, I'm just gonna remove this liquid from my life for a while, can just drastically change your mindset and the way you start doing things, you know what I mean, and you start like, because it was a lot of like, you like, as you get older and everything like that, my 20s it was fine, I could drink as much as I want and then go to bed and brush my teeth and I'm going to work, but like, as soon as I hit 30, it was like, if I have one, I have to sleep all day tomorrow, and and in this industry, we cannot sleep all day tomorrow. We have to work, so it's like, you know what? Like, this isn't, is it more worth it to be the best version of me, or is it more worth it to have a little fun last night? So it's good to make that pivot, and not a lot of people do it, and a lot of people fall into that trap of like, yeah, we have to be this glitz and glamour and all the social media, and we have to show the party that we're making all the money and everything like that. But it's good to have both sides. You need to have that balance for sure. So that's great that you did that.
And actually, you bring up a really good point, Michael. By the way, social media is a highlight reel, and I try to be transparent with mine. I will absolutely never be like, "Oh, I'm at the gym and I'm really at home." I can't stand the people that are claim they're at a closing. I'm like, that's public knowledge. Like that's you're not that picture's old.
Uh
There's snow on the ground. Why is there no snow in the background of your closing? But I really, at the same time, it's still a highlight reel, and there are days that the pandemic messed with a lot of us, myself included. A lot of learning experiences, a lot of fell backwards a little bit. I'm like, oh wow, there's a bottle of wine out, and it just and in general, like it started to not do the miracle morning. The miracle morning ended up, being late morning. Those moments in your life that chaos comes in that you can't control, they're going to happen. And so you just have to give yourself a little grace, but then also be like, okay, I know when was I happiest? When was I most productive? When were people around me being bettered by my actions or not bettered by my actions, and adjust accordingly? So yeah, it's always a journey. I wonder what will be the next thing I learn because first it was booze, then it was I needed to get sleep, and then last year it was just work life balance. I've got to give myself my stories and my moments to be alone because even as a people person, you can burn out on being a people
Yeah.
person. And in our business, this is a people business. So if you're burned out on it, or if you've got to do something to get yourself through it, it just throws the world off. And it's there's some core things you just can't bend on, and when you do, adjust and give yourself some grace.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so that was a whole segment that had nothing to do with all of our questions, but that was great. It was great. Go back on the rails now.
Yeah.
So so I know you did mention earlier that you don't really have a preferred, like, I want to sell condos or townhouses, but it was one of the questions I have, so I wanted to ask: is there a certain style that you do love? Like, not say your preferred style to sell, but what is your preferred property that you just love? Like, you love the style of them.
Well, first of all, the preferred style of property in terms of like in the perfect world, what would I love to sell all day? I love things with a view of the water. I grew up by the water in Florida originally until we were 10 years old, and my family moved to Indiana thinking my dad would get a job, and well, Indiana was nice, but I love the water. That would be a perfect property. What I love in terms of I light up when my clients say it or when my clients catch me talking about it is a multi-unit building, house hacking. A lot of I wish I had been more articulate earlier about the value of house hacking. I have a townhouse. I bought it out of foreclosure in 2012. So I'm coming up on literally this will be my 11th, 12th year here. And I love it. Was lucky enough to eventually pay it off through the exit residual bonus system. I finally got a chance to redo it. It still needs some work probably, but in hindsight, I wish I had bought a multi-unit building. And you live in one, you rent out the rest, and the return on investment on that and is bar none. And you can do an FHA loan, a rehab loan, VA for some of my friends that are veterans. I mean, it's just unlimited because at the end of the day, you have this entire building that maybe your exit strategy, pun intended, is that you leave the building, you rent the whole building out and you go buy another place. But it's just a massive return on your investment. And, at some point we have to diversify beyond just, oh, well, I've got some money in, a pension account or my stock account. It changes. And you can't only be invested in real estate either, although it's such a solid investment, but it's a piece of the puzzle. And, I call it, there's mattress money, which is, the place where you live and sleep. So this is mattress money. And then there's mailbox money. That's the place that you don't sleep. And that's bringing in rental income. Clearly an old adage, because now it's like they Venmo you your rent, or they Zelle you your rent. But, the mailbox money piece, you can have both at once and then I've had people that turned, a 3-unit building into a single family home, so that they turned it, their exit strategy was actually an entrance into the rest of the building. So there's so much you can do with it. And Chicago's filled with beautiful brick, limestone buildings like that, even some gorgeous, like Victorian looking frame buildings. And, there's probably not going to be a manager because you're living on site. You're the manager, which that can be a hassle, but there's not a lot of hassle out of having a massive investment at the end of the mortgage period.
I agree. I agree that multi-unit purchasing was when I was a realtor. It was also that was my niche to sell them, because I felt like it's putting people in a very good financial situation where you will qualify to buy more. Sometimes when you buy, depending on their circumstances, sometimes that's it. You buy the house that you can afford, and that's it. You stop there. But a multi-unit can actually help qualify you for another multi-unit. And you see where it can go on and on and on until you get that house, and that house is paid for. You don't have nothing out of pocket. So why not have your mortgage half paid for, and then get another one, and now that's paid for, and this one's half paid for, and then get another one, and then you just go on and on and on. So yes, that was definitely my favorite type of property to sell as well. So then the next question is, what type of clientele do you favor servicing? And it sounds like it's the investor. It's that investor minded. I mean, they are the new coming into being an investor. I think is what the answer would be, but I'll let you answer.
I still love a first time buyer because it's so exciting to, they need a really patient, knowledgeable agent with a lot of resources for them. And that's kind of one of my new projects. And you can't see it, but I've got a whiteboard wall. A good friend of mine is studied to be an architect, was an architect, but now he's in interior design, started his own company. And he did my place for me. And he goes, you got these whiteboards all over your home office. You look crazy. And we're going to put a wall up that's a whiteboard. It's literally a whiteboard built into the wall. And so I've got this list of things I want to do. And one of the things is I really want to create more resources. So even if an agent is new into the business, they have the resources for that first time home buyer that's comprehensive. So I love the first time buyer conversation still, but I think you can instill that investor mindset, like you said, Baxi, that investor mindset into every client. And you should, because it's going to be the roof over their heads a lot of times. Most of the time, your first purchase is the roof over your heads. I'm an anomaly. I bought a rental property and I didn't live in it. I still was, living in my frat house in college, while I had my first investment property. That's an anomaly. Most everybody else is going to live in their place for them. But, if it's a condo, I send my clients a condo blog. It's right on my LinkedIn, one of my LinkedIn articles, that I do here's the things you want to look for in a condo building. And one of the things is, can it be rented later? Because what's your exit strategy from this property? As much as I want to have a for sale sign in front of that place in 5, 6, 10 years when the life changes, my advice is you probably should turn around and look at renting it out and buying another one. There's another book that I love that's called The Automatic Millionaire Homeowner. And The Automatic Millionaire Homeowner, basically, some realtors are like, oh, that book is awful. I said, that book is awful because you're greedy. And you want a listing. You'll get a sale when they decide to upgrade, move, transfer somewhere else. At the end of the day, my goal is to, be a person that when somebody looks back on their life, that one of the big pieces of it was we helped them build wealth through real estate. And you think of your lawyer, your doctor, your child's educator as some of the big foundational pieces in your family. I want to be one of those pieces as your realtor. But if you're a transactional realtor, you're grabbing after the buck. You're not grabbing after the opportunity to create wealth with them, because it's going to benefit both of you. Rising tides lift all boats. I knew I'd use that term again today.
You really need to go for a swim. Okay, so the next one, we got the servicing clients. So I mean, you kind of answered this already, but it was about your team coverage. So you're all of Illinois. Do but you have a team in Indiana and Michigan as well? Is how
So
you have it?
so the way that we're structured, so our brokerage, the office that I own, we have 4 locations now, 2 in the city and then 2 in the suburbs. They service all of Chicagoland. So I mean, you're talking all the way, down to way past Peatone. You're out. We're part of the Rockford MLS as well. So we're
Wow.
spread out all over this MLS grid, Chicagoland. But then I, picked up enough of a sphere of influence in some other places, and a lot of our Chicago people, especially after this pandemic, they're going, I need a place out of the city. I want a crash pad. I want an Airbnb property. So I built a team around me in other states that can service that, but they're getting my tools. They're getting my education. They're getting, I started doing my CCIM classes. And as a CCIM candidate, you get some really amazing tools you can work with your clients on. I'm like, this is not a regular net sheet. This is a 30-year plan for this property. That package goes with you when you work with me, even if you're going to work with one of my team members across the country. So
Wow.
we really built that out. That's part of the thing that I've enjoyed about being part of an international brand. It's not the biggest brand, but it's a good, solid brand with good technology. You can find people to partner with. And what I've always told everybody is this is a relationship where you're going to get more tools out of this, and your clients are going to get more tools out of this if they're working with me in Chicago or if they're working with you out there, because I'm noticing more and more the money flow as I get older, where I've got 2 friends right now with conversations about properties in San Diego. Well, I need somebody boots on the ground there. So I've got a local agent there. You've got money's always going in and out of property, and people's lives are changing. You need a good management company. You need a good lawyer. You need a good realtor to kind of put all those pieces together if you're going to buy and hold or even fix and flip anywhere.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a pretty big network. But then our offices in Chicagoland, there's 4 locations. We're focused on Illinois, Northern Illinois, because quite frankly, the tools of our local MLS, MRAD, I hate paying the dues. Everybody does, but that is a toolkit that not a lot of other MLSs have. So I really dug deep mostly with that MLS, because I can coach and train agents here locally the best, because all my tools work with our local MLS. They work in some other places too, but I really have dug deep into Cloud CMA, Remine, the Realtor's Property Resource, probably the most underlooked. RPR is probably one of those underlooked tools within that toolkit you get at the top of the MLS that nobody ever touches. That tool, I think they're afraid to touch the toolbox. I played with every single thing in there. InfoSparks, what a genius little thing we've got. And I've been a member of 2 other MLSs that, there is no toolbox. There's like a don't get fined, and that's the box. This is a very engaged MLS. Our local boards are great. So I like to play in this sphere primarily, but build team members in other spaces where my clients are going.
Great. So you answered one of the next 2 questions. So how many offices in your brokerage? You said 4. How many realtors total is in your team?
just under 300 now. So
Wow.
I started this
He
exercise.
says just under. He's like,
We're
wow, 3.
I think. I really believe the next couple of years are going to be transformational in the industry because the introduction of AI is huge. A lot of people, I think it's like it's so nebulous what it's going to be. I'm doing a my own series on it starting on February 13th. The night Valentine's Day Eve. I did a big training on Halloween. I call it "Don't Be a Zombie Agent." This one is how AI can bring heart back into your business because people are like, "Well, what is that going to do to my business?" I'm like, "It's going to not transform your business. It's going to enhance your business if you use it, but use it in the right way." Because I got people playing on these emojis and I'm going to build an avatar. How's that going? Your client doesn't care about that. How
Right.
can you do a better MLS description? How can you speed up the process of getting an event invitation sent out? So I partnered with our CRM company, the CRM company that I've invested my resources into, and Wise Agent, and they're amazing. And I said, guys, my agents can barely even get the Chat GPT account because there's so many people trying to get in and create their accounts, and then they're each individually going to have their own experience with it, which means that little AI bot is not going to be that smart. And I want everybody's together. So we got it set up through WiseAid that we have one master Chat GPT account that's going to be so smart from all the people. It's a mastermind,
Wow.
and it's right in our CRM. So
Wow.
that's the kind of stuff
Crazy.
that with us, 300 agents, like this should be 500 agents, and our locations are spread out enough that they service everywhere. And the reality is, if you're not doing hybrid training, because during COVID I got real good at Zoom, and the problem is sometimes you do need actual live in-person things too. So I do a hybrid of everything. I'm like, you have no excuse, you will not escape me, Mr. Agent that's at my office. You can ignore me, but you can't tell me that you couldn't have an opportunity to engage. So we do a hybrid training. I do a live and I do a Zoom at the same time, share my screen. So I'm in a classroom at one of our offices, and we're really focused on solving a problem. I call it the STOP method. I made it up, so it's cheesy, but you solve a problem by first going into a theory and then a tool, and then you apply it while you're in the classroom. You have an hour with me that day. In that hour, you're not only going to learn how to solve the problem by using a theory and a tool. You then have to apply it in the classroom, and then we're going to make sure no agent left behind. Everybody gets the help they need, and then you can turn around and apply a process to that so you can use it in other areas of your business. So you're, like we said earlier, it's systems and models. But the issue I think with things like Chat GPT is it's so nebulous, or it's such a big concept, or you sit in a place and I'm sitting there looking at one of the classes I've taken recently as a student of the business. You go into a class and you pay money for the class. I mean, I don't charge my agents for my classes, but pay money for a class, and you write in a notebook, and the notebook goes in a desk drawer like this one. Actually, there probably is a old one in there, and you never get anything done from it. It's like there's no accountability. So the stop method creates that, and that's why I just think that there's going to be a transformation in this business over the next couple of years through technology,
Sure.
through what we've learned from COVID, but then also a need to engage the community in new and different ways, because just being another broker won't cut it.
Right. Okay. All right. And the next one we had after that is as a leader such as yourself, what are some of your recommendations for a new realtor that is getting started besides signing up for exit strategy?
Sign up now. No, I think the biggest thing is couple things. Here's some things that I did wrong, and here's some things I've learned from coaching a lot of people across U.S. and even I do a couple Canadian, speaking engagements, things like that. Number one, the company will not put food on your table. The company will not give you enough leads to survive. Anything that they claim they're going to give you is at max dessert. If you are a lead receiver, you are in trouble on the way in. You have to wake up and make your business. You got to hunt, you got to fish, you got to grow your business, whatever you like, however you want to phrase it. It's going to come from you. The company should be giving you the support of a good team, a lot of coaching, a lot of mentoring, not a 2-week program that, it's over. And the biggest thing is I would ask on the way in, who's going to be my coach? Because a managing broker that solves problems and issues is not creating opportunities. You've got to figure out who the coach is going to be, who your CRM company is going to be, what your commission split's going to be, and what's your cap. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
big four. So because the CRM is the lifeblood of your business, not the company spit out 2 leads that went nowhere. It is because most of them are giving us nothing. And I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people in the way, and if your first question to me is how many leads am I going to get from you, probably the door is going to be your best exit strategy because you're not going to like working with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to teach you how to fish. I have some fish. I do lead generation for our agents. It is dessert at max. But I want, because the thing is I watched agents as way back at the beginning. In my new agent class, we all took our classes at Coldwell. That's how we ended up at Coldwell. And there was nothing wrong with the new agent training. It was actually pretty decent back then. And I got to tell you, I sat there at the end of it, and they gave us little cubes and phone books, and a phone, and I watched everybody else waiting for the phone to ring, and I watched the actual producing agents that have been there a while at the company, including the lady that had sold me my investment property. She'd roll in and out of there with her Mercedes and her beautiful coat, and she was always making calls. She was always putting postcards into the little mailbox at the office. She was always running, coming and going. She was going to a kid's birthday party, somebody's basketball game, a wedding, a engagement party. Like, this lady is like running for mayor. And that was my silly thought in my head. And then years later, I sat in a Brian Buffini training, and he's like, "It's the Call the Mayor campaign. You're always running for mayor." And I thought, that okay, that was it. And so the company's never going to give you everything,
Yeah.
but they should be giving you something, and they all should be helping you. The more you're there, the more you do, the less they take from you, not more.
I love it. I
It's a,
love it.
the sliding scale should go more to you, not less to you over time.
Absolutely. I love it. I think that's the best nugget here, is teaching them to ask that very important question. Who is going to be my coach? Who is going to help teach me? Who's going to educate me? You're going in there with the mindset of learning how to service people, not how to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're at that mindset of, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to do great at this. The only way you could do great is if you learn it. So focus on the education, the money will follow. So
And
Mm-hmm.
that's just a beautiful
nothing is
tip.
nothing, and that's people start with the
Mm,
commission split piece. That's
yeah,
important, but and I interrupted you. Sorry, I'm going to get
it's
kicked off
okay.
the podcast. But I'll forget to say this. Ask to see some samples of the training, of the coaching, not of the training. Training is read out of a book. Show me the coach. Who is the coach? How often do they coach me? Give me a sample of the coaching. That is what I would really love to see people ask, because I hear I interview agents that don't come here, that don't come to Exit. And 6 months later, I get a LinkedIn message or a text, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And, I hear about the lost 6 months. They paid
Mm-hmm.
money to be there, they transferred their
Mm-hmm.
license there, they put it on their social media. I very rarely meet a new agent that has bad intent or that's lazy. I meet new agents that 6 months, a year, 2 years later didn't get the right coaching. They didn't get the right tools and technology. They didn't get the right push. Very rarely is it like, "Oh, I did amazing, but my commission split was too low." Those conversations happen later.
Yeah.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
one, and it just breaks my heart because I watched it happen so many times, and I just ended up always tripping into something that kept me going in the business,
Mm-hmm.
because I on my joined real estate on my 20th birthday, my 30th birthday. I looked at it my first decade in the business, and I go, I don't think I want to do this anymore. If it's going to always be, I made 42,000, I made 140, then I made 36,000. You can't live in the city like that. Dear God, if I ever wanted to start a family, and
Sure.
it just so I hit a wall, and
Yeah.
but I would always get lucky with something, or I'd work super hard on one thing, and it would keep me going. But I'd watch so many people around me drop out, and I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
man, we got to fix this, and we still need to fix it. And I still have work to do in my company. My company is not perfect either by any means, but it's a really good baseline. And I just wish that everybody would realize all the new agents have the best of intents. It's on the brokers to give them the platform to take it from intent to reality.
So as a managing broker, what would be your recommendation to a realtor that's out there today struggling in this market?
Well, this is I think this advice will only come from the benefit
Mhm.
of me being, started in 98. The tech bus was 99.
Mhm.
Opened my first office September 4th, 2001. Next week, 9/11 happened. Opened my exit office October 29th, 2009, the day the stock market crashed. I have really epically bad timing. So if I open a new branch or do a new venture, run. I opened my title company, Strategic Title, the week before COVID hit. So I mean, it's just like, watch out, I might do something soon. The world's going to end. So my advice would be, you have to go 50% wider. If you're already in the business, you have to go 50% wider than you have been going the past 3 years, and 50% deeper. What I mean by that is you need to go deeper into your own database. What I found, even in my own business as an agent, was that the last 3 years were so, I don't want to say easy, they were chaotic, but they were so busy that if you took your eye off the client, oh my gosh, this one place came up, let's run out there and write one of 12 offers that are going to be put in on it. And oh my gosh, I'm a seller's agent, I have 13 offers I need to put together in a spreadsheet to present to my seller. Guess what didn't get done? The happy birthday cards, visits to past clients, calling a couple expireds or FISBOs, my agent friends that don't have a big database yet, just sold cards. All that kind of stuff fell by the wayside, some or all of it for some agents. So you have to go back 50% deeper into that existing database and
Mhm.
rebuild those relationships and rebuild the referral sources from them. Because, yeah, you're not calling people to
Yeah.
see if they want to sell, maybe. But the thing is, like, you're calling to check in on them and see what you can do to help them and remind them that you're in the business, because guess what? They liked you and trusted you when they bought, but they probably haven't heard from you that much since. You need to fix
Mhm.
that 50% deeper, 50% wider in terms of wherever I am right now. I need to go wider in terms of maybe not geography, actually, almost definitely not geography if you've not gone deeper within that existing sphere, but
Mhm.
50% wider in terms of the efforts. I do a lot of research on, where things are going in social media. I'm 44. I'm about to be 45. I got to tell you, I was not excited to see TikTok get so popular because I'm like, oh, great, a new thing. And
Hmm.
Mhm.
I just it, but I realized, okay, guess what? This is a thing. It's an emerging thing, so I had to do it. Video, LinkedIn. I have agents that have beautiful presences on Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
sometimes TikTok, no LinkedIn presence. I'm like, you do realize that's the only place where you can get actual information about people, like their birthday, their actual
Yeah.
email, because a recruiter, they're always looking to be recruited, or they are the recruiter. Their information's accurate on LinkedIn. Why are you not on LinkedIn? You can export it to a decent CRM. That's the 50% wider, is what are you not doing? And that's where it comes in, is, are you being coached? Is your coach studying
Mhm.
you and the market to see what we can do to enhance the experience? And it's not just, well, go do this. Here's a tool for you to help do it, like a
Yeah.
social media manager, a graphic
Mhm.
designer. We figured out with our agents, they were cheaping out on photos on their listings. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that meme where the lady slides into her seat? I was doing I helped one of our agents reprice a property.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I don't like this. And I started taking a look at the photos, and I'm like, that is awful. That is, what did you do that on your cell phone? What kind of cell phone do you have? A Cricket? I mean, no offense, Cricket users, Cricket wireless phones, but it just looked awful. And I took a long look and I realized, in a declining market, agents stop spending money in certain places.
Right.
They also stop getting motivated to even get out of bed some days. I get it, but you can't stop doing the best job for your clients. So I took
Yeah.
that off my client's shelf. But then, okay, so if I've got this package for pictures and I've got this going on for me, why am I not talking to more expireds 50% wider? And why am I definitely not making sure that every single one of my past clients has an unsolicited cloud CMA, a quarterly market report? Do something.
Yeah.
And, if you've got more time, which we all do, then you've got to manage the time better to grow, because guess what? This is not a crashing market. It's a
Yeah.
stagnant market. So in a
Mhm.
stagnant market, there are opportunities for sellers and to buyers, but you've just got to find more people to talk to, because there's less people
Mhm.
wanting to do a transaction.
Very true. Very true. Okay. Yeah, so I guess the question's on me now. So yeah, as a broker, what would your recommendation be for a buyer or a seller in the market today?
Ooh, good question. So as a broker, and right now I'm doing a lot of listing appointment, kind of coaching with my agents. Obviously still talking to my own database. I'll tell you this as a seller, what you need to do is, number one, what are you going to do after this? We want to make sure that you have a not a place to go yet, but that you know what the market is in terms of where you're going. Because I think everybody's kind of still not 100% educated on what today's market is, which is a stagnant market, but it's also a low inventory market. This is not 2009 and 10 where everything is, going into foreclosure and short sale. There's not that much out there because people sometimes can't afford to move because the interest rates, they're sitting on a better interest rate by far than they could get. So I want to make sure you know where you're going, so you're not putting your house on the market, burning through my photo, my amazing photographer and my time and your time, and we get you, God forbid, we get you a contract, you have no place to go. Do you have a general idea of what your budget, et cetera, is? But then also, because even though there's not that much on the market, there's not that many buyers. So your place has to look great. It's got to be well staged, cleaned up. I have an outside vendor that we've partnered with that will literally do the work for him, and you can pay him at closing. Obviously there's a little bit of a cost to that, but it's got to look great. It's got to be marketed great. That's on us. It's got to be priced right. This
Right.
is not the comps from a year ago. The agents that I see that, 9 months ago that sold for, the house next door. So I said, and 9 months ago, the interest rate was 4%. So this is not 9 months ago. I'm pricing mine at a little bit of a discount to what 9 months to a year ago was. I'm looking at the comps from the last 3 months. I'm
Right.
really looking at the Q4 comps because Q4 was rough. And I don't see this market getting crazy better or crazy worse. It's going to be stagnant and kind of bounce the ball down the road for quite a while, unless there's something outside in the universe, in the world, economically or otherwise that happens. So as a seller, stage it right, price it right, work with your agent. As a buyer, take your time, get the solid pre-approval, know what you want, get an agent that's going to automate the getting the properties to you, make sure you're getting all the stuff from the private listing network, and then go out there with a attitude of, if this isn't the right one, there'll be another one. It may not feel like that today. So what does that mean? You got to have a long runway. I want you to have, you don't have to. I want you to have best experience will be a long runway. You're thinking, that lease is up in September. We're getting the ball rolling now. Is that annoying to some agents that they've got to take somebody out that may not write tomorrow? Yep. But you know what? Tough crap. So I'd rather have my client have a long runway than I didn't get that one. Ooh, that lease is going to be up. Because you know what they'll do? They'll end up releasing again, because, or they should, if they're going to be rushed. So that's why it's key to be engagement with people. Let them know that you're there as a resource. Hey, it's never too early to have the conversation. Maybe they got to fix something on their credit. Maybe they've got a place to sell. Maybe they just want to browse. And that's your job as an agent, is to get them to the point that when they do see the perfect property, they've seen enough places and they know what their options are, that they can go for it, and they'll know that there's something else down the road if it's not there. So, and negotiate. Everybody negotiate. This is a balanced, stagnant market. Something else will come along, Mr. Seller, so don't be too greedy. Something else will come along, Mr. Buyer, so don't, Mrs. Buyer, whatever. So you will not overpay. Whatever your economic situation is, do not break the bank for this particular transaction as a buyer, unless the person that has sold it, that is selling it, has gone ridiculously low on the price. They're not going to right now. They're going to wait for you to bring them an offer that is negotiable, reasonable, but negotiable.
Wow, what a wealth of knowledge here, huh? Wealth of knowledge. So anyone who's watching this podcast, we're gonna have buyers and we're gonna have sellers and we're gonna have realtors and managing brokers. I think everyone's gonna learn something here today. So thank you for being here, Nick. This was an awesome, probably one of my favorite podcasts ever. And I have to ask you, how, if a realtor wants to join you, your team, your company, how can they reach you?
Well, you know what? Two different ways. So, and it doesn't mean that, you want to join me necessarily. Maybe just investigate what's going on, check us out. Even just if you're, I don't even like to use the term competitor, but a compadre in the in the industry,
Mhm.
if you're going to, want to connect with me, I would love to connect with you on social media. It is really where I feel like I can bring you a value proposition, even if you never want to, step foot in our doors, so to speak. I'm on social media everywhere with the same handle. It's at Nick Libert. That's NICKLIB as in boy, ERT. And then if you are a texter like I am, you can actually just text this little code. You text my last name, Libert, to the number 85377. That's 85377. That'll give you my digital business card and all my items of value.
Awesome. That's great. And then is that the same thing for buyers and sellers as well? If there's someone that wants to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. I have this method that is not my method. That is not my acronym. It's somebody else's. Keep it simple, stupid, and stupid
Mm-hmm.
is
Mhm.
keep it simple. So yes, everybody, let's all talk together because I'm not hiding anything from anybody. You guys all get to see the same messy show over here.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Well,
again,
we'll.
yeah. Thanks a lot, Nick. I really do appreciate your
Yeah.
time. I know your time is very valuable.
Mhm.
This is a big one for me. I know we've been talking back and forth about it for a while now. So again, thank you so much for coming out to this. Really do appreciate it.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
and I'll definitely post the links to the books because you called out some really good books that we'll add to the post, and we will also add how to get a hold of you through text, and your information at the end of the podcast. We will have it at the end of the podcast, and we'll have it also where we're posting it in Facebook. So thanks again, Nick, for joining us. We are grateful that you're here today, and we look forward to working with you out there in the field.
I'm grateful for you guys. Thank you for being such wonderful vendors and friends in the industry, and thank you for doing this podcast series and educating people. That is a gift to the rest of us. So thank you guys for giving me the opportunity today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye now.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.